In the year 1633, in the city of Istanbul, smoking a pipe could get you executed. Not fined, not flogged, executed. And here's the part nobody tells you. The man who made that law, the most powerful ruler on earth, commander of 3 continents, spent his nights doing something no sultan had ever done before. He put on a disguise and went hunting for smokers himself. This is the story of Murad IV, and I promise you, it gets so much weirder than this. Picture Istanbul in 1633. 500,000 people, the largest city in Europe, and on every corner, a coffee house. Coffee was the internet of the Ottoman Empire. Men sat there for hours, drinking, smoking, gossiping, and complaining about the government. Poets read their work aloud. Storytellers performed for tips. Somebody's cousin knew a guy at the palace, and he had opinions. If a rumour started at breakfast in one coffee house, by dinner the entire city knew it. And if you were a deeply paranoid sultan, that was a problem. Now, the sultan of this empire had become sultan at age 11. 11. His uncle had been deposed. His older brother had been strangled by his own elite soldiers, the Janissaries. Little Murad spent his childhood watching grown men decide which of his relatives to murder next. So when he finally took real power in his 20s, Murad IV had exactly one policy. Fear me. Fear me so much that no one even thinks about a coup. And then, in September 1633, a fire broke out. It tore through the wooden city and burned 1/5 of Istanbul to the ground. The official cause? Someone smoking. Was it actually a smoker's fault? Probably not. Did Murad care? He did not. The decree came down like a hammer. Tobacco, banned. Coffee, banned. Alcohol, banned. Coffee houses, closed, boarded up, some demolished entirely. The punishment for lighting a pipe? Death. On the spot. No trial. Now, a normal ruler makes a law and lets his police enforce it. Murad was not a normal ruler. Murad thought, why would I trust someone else with my favourite hobby? And so began the strangest police patrol in human history. At night, the most powerful man in the world would dress as an ordinary merchant, slip out of Topkapi Palace, sometimes row himself across the Bosphorus, alone, and wander the streets of his own capital, sniffing the air for tobacco. Imagine you're in a secret basement coffee house. It's past midnight. The windows are covered. There's a lookout kid upstairs who gets paid in sweets. Someone has one precious pipe, and it's being passed around like contraband, because it literally is contraband. Every man in this room is risking his neck for a puff of tobacco and a cup of coffee, and honestly, they've decided it's worth it. A stranger has joined your table. Big fellow. Quiet. Wrestler's shoulders. Your friend leans over to the stranger, offers him the pipe, and whispers, "Careful with that, friend. If the Sultan catches you, they say he wanders the streets at night like a ghost. Big, scary Murad. Ooh." The stranger takes the pipe, examines it, and says, "Is that so? And what does this Murad look like?" "How should I know? Probably ugly. All that scowling." The stranger stands up, and keeps going up. 2 meters of Ottoman muscle. The room goes silent. Guards. That poor man's evening did not improve from there. Here's where it stops being funny and becomes, well, no, it stays funny, but in a horrifying way. Chroniclers claim that during his reign, Murad ordered tens of thousands of executions, some say as many as 25,000 in just 5 years. Caught smoking? Dead. Caught drinking? Dead. Out after curfew? Believe it or not, also dead. He executed a group of women for the crime of singing too loudly in a meadow. Smokers developed tactics: pipes hidden in turbans, pipes hidden in sleeves, tobacco smoke blown into fireplaces so it would blend with the chimney. Entire friendships were built on one question: can this man keep his mouth shut? He reportedly had boats sunk for sailing too close to the palace walls while he wanted quiet. The entire city developed a survival instinct. When Murad walked the streets, Istanbul became the most polite, most smoke-free, most aggressively sober city on the planet. Men would see a large stranger approaching at night and simply start running, just in case. Which brings us to the greatest plot twist in Ottoman history. Legend tells of a night when Murad, in disguise as always, found a man so drunk he could barely stand, a fellow the city knew as Bekri Mustafa. Bekri literally means the drunkard. That was his official nickname. In a city where drinking was a death sentence, this man had branded himself. Murad grabbed him. "Do you know who I am?" "No. Do you know who I am?" "No." "Then we're even. Buy me a drink, big fellow. You look like you've never had fun in your entire life." Everyone within earshot prepared to witness a murder. Instead, and this is the legend, Murad started laughing. The man who executed people for whispering found the one drunk in Istanbul with the audacity to roast him to his face. And he loved it. The story goes that Bekri Mustafa became the Sultan's drinking companion, protected by the very man who beheaded drinkers, and lived out his days as the only legally drunk man in the Ottoman Empire. Which raises a question you may have noticed. Drinking companion? Wait, the Sultan who banned alcohol drank? Oh yes, Murad IV, the man who made half the pleasures of life a capital crime, was, behind palace walls, one of the heaviest drinkers of his dynasty. Think about that for a second. Somewhere in Istanbul, a man is being executed for a cup of coffee. And that same evening, in the palace, the Sultan is pouring himself another glass of wine. History has produced many hypocrites. Few of them had an army. And in 1640, at just 27 years old, the most feared man in the world died in his bed. The cause, according to most accounts? Liver failure. From alcohol. He survived coups, he survived assassins, he survived the Janissaries who had strangled his brother. He personally led armies and conquered Baghdad. And he was killed by the one banned substance he refused to give up himself. The people of Istanbul, who had spent 17 years not smoking, not drinking, and not singing in meadows, quietly went back to all three. So, how much of this actually happened? Let's separate the chronicle from the campfire. The Great Fire of 1633, real. The tobacco, coffee, and alcohol bans under penalty of death, real and well documented. The night patrols in disguise, real. Ottoman chronicles describe Murad's incognito inspections in detail. The executions, real, though that famous 25,000 figure comes from chroniclers who loved big numbers, so historians debate it. Bekri Mustafa? He's the folklore. There's no palace record of him, but the story was told so widely for so long that his face ended up on tavern signs across Istanbul for centuries. When a legend outlives an empire, we felt he'd earned his place in this episode. And Murad's death from drink at 27? Real. History's most expensive irony. So the next time someone tells you smoking kills, remember that in Istanbul, in 1633, it absolutely did. Just not the way you'd think. Somewhere out there tonight, in every empire that ever existed, there was always one Bekri Mustafa, too drunk, too honest, and too lucky to die. Next time on Throne of Fools, the Roman emperor who declared war on the ocean itself and ordered his army to stab the waves. Yes, that happened too. Subscribe. History is only going to get dumber from here.